Hey guys, welcome to 2 and Out, week 14 of the CFL season. This is the CFL preview show found only here on WagerTalk TV. Our CFL insider, Rob Braley, returns. He is going to discuss during our insider section the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He made a point of discussing them last week because he really loved them coming off the bye. 7.5 point favorites. They win outright. And of course, the man who he can't stop winning, Andrew McInnis. Let's bring Andrew in. Andrew, a 5% winner on the weekend, 7 straight CFL winners. I say Monday as part of the weekend because it was the Labor Day weekend up here. And we saw a couple great ones, the Battle of Alberta, and of course, the Argos taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats and coming away with another W. How was your weekend, Andrew?
It was a great weekend, Carm. Look, I'm excited for NFL to be back. Obviously, college football is exciting, but as I always say, the money prints the same. And the CFL right now is making us money. This is probably the best time to bet on the CFL off a 3-0 weekend. And I did tweet out as well, Argos in the first half. And so that really would be a 4-0 weekend. But now 13-3 run in the CFL. And like you mentioned, I lost my very first 5% play of the year, and I've won 7 straight after that. Some unique situations to look at for this week, some back-to-backs, some revenge spots. So look forward to hearing what you guys have to say and diving into some of these games.
Yeah, Andrew, I get it. You lost the first one, but 87.5% on 5% plays. I would say that's a pretty good number. So just keep it going. I think you guys out there who follow on this 2 and Out show and follow obviously Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com know how much effort he puts into it, and we appreciate it. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you like about this show, and also subscribe so you never miss another actionable show on WagerTalk. A lot of info across all sports, even with the NFL kicking off. There is still plenty of football north of the border to discuss. And speaking of north of the border, let's bring in Rob Braley. Rob, you're back from the cottage. You gave out some absolutely fantastic information last week. Towards the tail end of the show, I got a message from you saying, I got to touch on Saskatchewan. And man, were you right about that one. They came out of off their bye week and just played one doozy a game. The end of that game was absolutely fantastic. Goes to OT, 32-30 winner.
Game. I mean, they tried to blow it at the end with a ridiculous headbutt. I don't know what that was all about or where that came from, but they still managed to pull it off. And we're taking advantage of situational advantages here. Like these teams coming off buys, they have a huge advantage, and they're cashing tickets like crazy. And I saw the Saskatchewan opportunity there. They're starting to play some better football. Their quarterback play has been a lot better after they've sorted that out, and I think they're a team to watch going forward here. As Delegala, he keeps putting up some big numbers, and they're not making any mistakes. So they're a tough team to play against, and they're getting no respect. Now they're another 8.5-point dog going into Winnipeg. Crazy.
Yeah, it's and we're going to discuss that shortly. But it has been a definite moneymaker if you're playing teams off a bye. I think at one point going into week 12, teams were 10-1 coming off a bye. I'm not sure about how week 12 went, but another winner last week in week 13 with Saskatchewan. Whether you took them on the money line or you took them on the spread, you cashed both ways on that. But Rob, we're getting closer to the end of the season here. I want to talk about like playoff implications. You look at one game this weekend, Hamilton taking on Ottawa. And they've already played twice. The Ticats winning both of them. Can they beat the Redblacks a third straight time? I know it's always discussed in the NFL that beating a team 3 times in a season, you play them, let's say, a divisional foe, you play them a couple times, you beat them, and then you meet them in the playoffs. Beating them a third time is always so tough. Can the Ticats do it? And then we're talking playoff implications, and the CFL does have that crossover where the 4th place team in the West, if they have a better record than the 3rd place team in the East, they cross over and take over that spot. Could we see a crossover with the Calgary Stampeders?
Yeah, I really think it's a possibility here. Hamilton is in a bad spot, playing Monday and then Friday, and again we got Ottawa coming off a bye week. But if you look at Hamilton's schedule going forward, they got this week is Ottawa, then they get Winnipeg, Toronto, Calgary, Saskatchewan, BC, Montreal. Calgary gets Edmonton, a bye, Montreal, Hamilton, Saskatchewan, BC. I think Calgary might have a scheduling advantage here. But they do have to have the better record. Not you can't be tied. There's no tiebreaker East-West. That you have to beat or have a better winning percentage than the team you're going to cross over and knock out. That being said, we got Ottawa's at 3-8 hosting the Ticats 4-7. I mean, Ottawa's not even out of it yet either. And like you said, Hamilton has 2 ugly wins over Ottawa this year. I think week 5 was 21-13. Week 8, they beat them 16-12. Both low-scoring games, but I don't expect the same here. One of them was when Mazzoli went out, and the other one was in a thunderstorm with a 2-hour rain delay. So you got Ottawa coming off a bye. Hamilton played Monday. Both teams are giving up a ton of points right now. Ottawa's very desperate for a win here. They got a 5-game losing streak going. Hamilton exhaustion versus Ottawa desperation. I'm leaning Ottawa here, but I think the line's gone now from 3 to 3.5. So I can see Ottawa winning this game. I'm going to wait. I'll take a 3 or a 2.5, but I see it's 3.5 now. So I'm leaning Ottawa, but I don't like that hook.
Yeah, and you never wanted to. There's something to be said about closing line value, but we saw at the beginning of the season, Andrew, because Andrew, I'm going to bring you in because I want you to chime in on this Hamilton Ottawa game as well too. But we saw at the beginning of the season a lot of the line moves. It was great being on the right side of those line moves, but those teams still ended up losing, as Kelly Stewart would say. That's the CLV trophies are collecting in my basement, but they're not getting me any money. So give me your thoughts on this Hamilton Ottawa one as well, Andrew.
The CLV trophies, I love those. I love that saying in general because it really, I think that should prove to everybody to just think what you're going to think already. Don't worry about line movement. I mean, obviously you want to think about it sometimes and take it into account, but if last week's college football, if earlier in the summer CFL didn't prove that to you already, then I don't know what to tell you because, the sharp movement, the line changes don't always mean that is the correct way. But I just kind of pretty much while Rob was talking, he said everything I was going to say about Ottawa, but I just wanted to mention, 12 points and 13 points, that's in the past. That's the older version of this Ottawa Redblacks team. That's not the same team. And obviously it was 2 unique situations with just a horrible, game as far as weather and then a quarterback injury game. So to me, that this is just an Ottawa Redblacks team that is a much different team since those 2 prior games that they played against each other. And then you look at Hamilton, that big, monstrous game they had against BC. What can we take out of that from a few weeks ago? Is it something that we can see them do again? Can they even show half of that effort again? I'm not so sure, but I think Ottawa can certainly win this game outright, and that's what I'll be looking at. And I potentially, actually, will be looking at them in the first half. And you guys talk about how successful the bye weeks have been for certain teams. This seems like a really good situation, not just because of their bye week, but because of the situation for Hamilton as well. So this seems to be kind of like that bottom of the pack game. Last week it was Calgary, Edmonton. Obviously those teams are playing again this week, but I feel like this is one of those games where you kind of figure out, if Hamilton beats Ottawa again, that's a huge step back in my opinion for Ottawa.
That's Andrew McInnis, our CFL guy over at WagerTalk.com. Another 5% winner from Andrew. Guys, you can get 30-day all access from Andrew using code AM30. And you only get it for $199. It's $100 off the regular price. Great deal. AM30 for a $30-day all access package over at WagerTalk. And of course, follow him at McInnis Picks on Twitter, as well as our insider at Rob_Braley. And Rob, you talked about, I'm just going to mention a couple things first. You talked about that line being at 3.5 and creeping up. Guys, if you're watching this show and you're a fan of Wager Talk, there's two things you should always do. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment for us below, hit the like button if you want, but you should be looking at our Wager Talk live lines, absolutely free, and the CFL numbers are there. There's a bunch of threes still available. So as Rob said, if you don't want the hook, find a book that still has a three. With that said, Rob, listen, we got to get into the next question for you because it's Saskatchewan. You made a point. You needed to discuss Saskatchewan last week. They're getting absolutely no love this week. It's 8.5-point dog in the Banjo Bowl after winning as a 7.5-point dog outright last week. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, Saskatchewan they're moving up in power rankings in every ranking I've seen so far. Some people have them ahead of BC now. I don't think they're there yet, but they just beat Vancouver. They had a bye week. They beat Winnipeg. Those are two pretty impressive wins, and they're doing it without making mistakes. They have not had a turnover in their last two games. Winnipeg is going to be bitter about that loss. The headbutt incident is going to resonate some emotions there. I think you're going to see a different Winnipeg team than we did last game. BC actually outplayed, in my opinion, Saskatchewan a couple weeks ago, but 5 turnovers cost them that game. And Saskatchewan last week was a 32-30 on that last minute touchdown drive. They're moving the football. This Delgado's got a really strong arm. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make mistakes. The offensive numbers were pretty similar in that game, but so Saskatchewan won the game outright, and you can't take that away from them. Do I see them winning this week? Probably not, but I'm not going to lay 8.5 points with Winnipeg in this one. I think this is going to be a really intense football game, and it's going to be a battle.
A battle it will. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what Andrew's got on this game a little later on when we look inside the numbers and, of course, our extra point feature. Rob, listen, we got to talk about the Alouettes defense here. They strung together 4 very good games. Calgary, Hamilton, Saskatchewan, Ottawa coming away with wins, never allowing more than it was 18, 14, 12, and 24 as far as points. But their last couple of games, that defense has been non-existent. 47 points 2 weeks ago against Winnipeg, and then 34 points against BC. 81 points allowed the last 2 weeks. And now who is up? The high-powered Toronto Argonauts, and they play them back-to-back as well too. Yep. Give me your thoughts on this Alouettes defense, and can they stop this Argonaut team?
I think this Montreal defense is it's a small group, and I think people are catching up on that, and they're out physicaling this team now. Can they slow down the 9-1 Toronto Argonauts? I really don't think so. I'm not sure anybody can. And the way Toronto is doing it is with all 3 phases of the game. Their defense has been good enough, not great. Their offense has been fantastic. They're combining. I mean, we all know what Kelly's doing in the air, but they're also running the ball. Harris, Ouellette, and Kelly combined ran for 124 yards last week. And don't forget Javon Leake. His special teams plays been absolutely outstanding. He had 3 punt returns for 75 yards and a kickoff return for 36. So there's over 100 yards offense from your special teams kick returner, and that's huge. That's 25% of their offense. Now we got Montreal back-to-back losses, giving up a ton of points. The one thing I see what Montreal's doing here, and it's on Cody Fajardo. He continues to make big mistakes at bad times, late in games. They're blowing games. They seem to be able to move the ball, but they just don't seem to be able to finish. And I don't think they have a chance against Toronto. Maybe in the back-to-back with some momentum, but I think Toronto's going to be fine here. And I know they had a short week. They played Monday as well, but I'm still leaning Toronto to cover this large spread, believe it or not.
All right, Rob Braley, our CFL insider. Rob, I'm going to follow that up. This is my Teddy Covers follow-up question. I'm not going to grill you, but I'm going to give you a follow-up here. You look at this Montreal team, and listen, they've got back-to-back games, obviously big games. against the Toronto Argonauts, and then they take on Calgary before back-to-back with Ottawa, and then at Edmonton, and they finish it off against the Ticats. Any thought on if this team continues to struggle that they can drop from that second to third spot, and then possibly a chance of missing the playoffs?
I really don't think so. I think their schedule is somewhat favorable compared to Hamilton's, and I think they're still a better football team than both Hamilton and Ottawa. Montreal's sitting at 6-5, so they got a 2-game advantage on Hamilton. And like I said, if Hamilton loses this week, then they're their chances of catching up are even more diminished. So I think Montreal is going to make the playoffs. I do think they'll finish second. But as far as Hamilton and Ottawa goes, I would lean Calgary right now as crossing over and playing at Montreal in the Eastern semifinal.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting, especially if if Hamilton somehow strings some wins together and Montreal falters that final game on October 28th. In Montreal will be Hamilton and Montreal will be a biggie one, and probably the biggest game of the weekend. Andrew, I got to bring you in because it is inside the numbers and our market mover game. We'll have a look at the numbers that are available. That these are the opening numbers that came out, and tell me what piqued your interest right off the bat.
It's funny, Carm, because I stated last week that we weren't going to see as much movement due to the fact that, of course, NFL and college football is back. We're still seeing some movement, of course. Rob talked about not just the 3, but 3 in the hook there in the Redblacks and Ticats game, of course, with that opening up at 2.5. Opener in Alouettes and Toronto was 10.5. Not too much movement there. Blue Bombers open up 7.5-point favorites. That's up to 8.5 now. Roughriders, of course, 7.5 dogs. 48.5 being the total. Last week, that was a little bit lower. And Stampeders and Elks, we're seeing the Elks now -1.5. That was a game of two teams near the bottom of their division, just trading points all game long. That was my 5% pick last week. The over in that game, I had it over 46.5. This week, it's at 48.5. But I'll tell you what, taking a look at some of the numbers we're seeing right now, there's certainly been some movement. And I'll tell you, I think this week in particular, if you like underdogs across the board, you probably want to wait until kickoff. It's, probably the most old-fashioned, simple way to do it. People are betting favorites this week in the CFL, guys. If you do like the dogs, I would wait until later on, but especially if you do like Hamilton. Unfortunately, I do like Ottawa in that game, so we'll try and find a way to make some money on them the best way we can without giving out a bad number. But as Rob stated, that number is certainly climbing there on the Redblacks. But that is the biggest one to watch out for. And if you do like the underdogs, make sure you're waiting just until kickoff to grab those. And also, shop around. Some books, I have realized, in the States do offer team totals. So check it out, guys. Make sure you're looking at that as well.
All right, Andrew McInnis, WagerTalk.com. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Andrew, I'm going to let you catch your breath, and I'm going to give out a promo for you because you not only do, of course, a CFL, but you've got a great NFL and CFL package. Only $4.99. You get every single play that Andrew releases, sides, totals, props in the NFL, and they're going to throw in the CFL for free. 13-3 run, I believe, in the CFL, and of course, 7 straight 5% winners. A great deal. So head over to WagerTalk, save $319 on that package, $4.99. 2 leagues, north and south of the border, and a whole bunch of football. Andrew, extra point, man. Bring it back. You've caught your breath. Let us know what you're looking at in this week's free play on the extra point.
It pains me inside because I'm going against Rob, and Rob is very successful with his betting in the CFL. But every single season I do this, when I think the time is right, and it feels like right now for a back-to-back game, revenge game, this is a good opportunity to kind of hop off the hype of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and take the Blue Bombers. Of course, it's a home and home. Roughriders at home last week, Blue Bombers at home this week. Of course, the suspension due to the headbutt is something to take into account as well from a pass rusher. And just looking at what this Roughriders team has been able to do, I don't really think they can sustain it. And they got a lot of penalties to go their way. Winnipeg had a slow start last week, but they really picked things up in the second half. I feel like they'll be a much different team this week. Zach Collaros didn't have his best week either. And based on what I heard from him in the post-game presser, he is not happy and wants to turn things around right away. These two teams do not like each other. And I feel like if the Bombers win, they win in a big way. I don't think this one goes down to the wire like last week's does. So last week I had the Riders plus 7.5. They win outright. This week I'm turning the page to the other home team and taking the Bombers minus the points.
All right, there you have it. Andrew McInnis, follow him on Twitter at McInnis Picks, and of course, our insider at Rob_Braley. Guys, drop a comment. Let us know again what you like about this show. Make sure you subscribe. And before I go, because I'm not giving out CFL picks, I am going to tell you what picks I do give out, guys. And this is a great deal that I have going on over at WagerTalk, and I'm going to make it a little bit better. I have this deal on my page right now. You can get the rest of 2023, all NHL. Of course, number one in NHL last season, all soccer, number one all-time soccer at WagerTalk. And every single play I release for the rest of 2023 in those sports, but I'm going to make it one better. If you purchase this package, email support at WagerTalk. Let them know you purchased this package, and they're going to flip that into an all access. So you'll get absolutely every single play I release across all sports. Last year, a winning NFL season over at WagerTalk, and then who can forget, because I can't, 18-1-1 in the first quarter of the circa millions to win 105K. I'm pretty happy about that. Let's run it back again this season. Listen, guys, for myself, Rob Braley, and Andrew McInnis, this is week 14 of 2 and Out. We will see you next week, and may all your plays be winners.